Hi, everybody, and welcome to MFS and the Hub. I'm Ross the Boss. I'm here with Vlad to the Bone, Casey Scheinfold. Casey, say hi to everybody.
Hey everybody, Ross, how you doing today? It's an exciting time to be a Reds fan, that's for sure.
I'm excited. I'm here in La La Land, Tinseltown. I'm excited to be in Los Angeles, but you know what? The big news today, Casey. Tell us who was called up to play shortstop for my Cincinnati Reds today. Tell
Well,
us.
that would be none other than Ellie De La Cruz, the number one prospect in baseball.
6'5", 200 pounds. I think he's 21 years old or 20 years old, young guy.
And you sent me a stat that he ran the faster than anybody in the major leagues has run this year. His last time scoring from a single to third or something.
Yeah, I sent it to you. It was like a little over 10 seconds from first to third. Yeah, I mean, this guy flies. He hits for velocity. He can steal bases. He can field. He throws the ball like close to 100 miles an hour to first base. I mean, that's like that O'Neill Cruz for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is good. And then they have Matt McLain. He'll play third, and then Indy at first, Indy at second, and Steer at first. It's not a bad infield for the Cincinnati. And Stevenson a catcher. Not bad. Things are going well in Cincinnati
right now.
And the other thing that happened in Cincinnati, which we were raving about this guy, is, and you picked him up in our fantasy league. You kind of snuck in there and got him for $15. Is Kevin Abbott. Tell us what Kevin Abbott did yesterday in his opening debut for the Reds.
Well, I think his first name is Andrew, isn't it? Not Kevin. But that's neither here nor there. Andrew Abbott threw six innings of one hit ball with 6 strikeouts. He had 4 walks, but 3 of those walks were in the first 6 batters he faced. So I think there was some first start of his career jitters that once he got those out of his system, he was pretty dominant.
Yeah, I mean, he was dominant in the minor leagues, but sometimes you and I both know that doesn't really translate in Major League Baseball. And you know what? You never know what's going to happen. I mean, look what happened to Alek Manoah yesterday. He only got one player out. He gave up 7 runs.
Well, and then you just showed me that he was sent all the way back down to the Florida training complex, not even down to the minors.
I don't know what that is. What's the Florida training? Is that a league, or is this like
no? That's their spring training center. Yeah, pretty much. He's going back to school. There's games, but they're other like just players who are down at the extended spring training. He's going there just to like go to school and work on his.
So if I show up there, Casey, I can actually hit against Alek Manoah if
I don't know. Cleats. Maybe if you pay enough. They might let you.
If I show up my cleats and say, "Hey, I'm here to practice," and they, "Oh, come on in, you can practice with us." I mean, it is pretty surprising. A guy that was in the All-Star team last year, now he's demoted all the way to the Florida Complex. Is it I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know. Florida Complex League. Is that correct?
No, just their sports complex. I mean,
what kind of promotion is that?
Yeah. It is the complex league, but I think if you ask me, I know people have talked about Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander because people spent a first round pick on them, but Manoah has to be the most disappointing fantasy pitcher in baseball this year.
You know, I was looking at Max Scherzer because I have him in some other leagues. The past 3 weeks since he's been brought up, he's been pitching really well. I can't make fun of the guy anymore. I mean, I'm back on the Max Scherzer on the train. I think, you know, his ERA in the past few starts is under 2. I mean, he's pitching great. I can't say anything bad about him. I mean, he's back. I mean, he had a few bad starts, but you know what? I mean, Alek Manoah.
I think it's Manoah or Alcantara have to be the 2 considered to be the biggest kind of flop so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, Alcantara. I mean, both of them. The Marlins, again, wild card team. I mean, the rest of their staff is pitching pretty well. I mean, he's just not pitching like a Cy Young winner, but you know, it's a long season. We're only a third through it, so we'll see what he can do. You know, it should be interesting what happens. And also your guy Aaron Judge, I haven't heard it officially, but I heard he's going to only DL for 10 days. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's a rumor.
No, he's on the DL. They're saying it's I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. But they're saying it's a hip strain. But from everything I read, it was his toe. So I don't know.
I don't know either. I think they just want to shut him down and just don't want to risk major injury. If I had to guess, they have Aaron Hicks taking his spot, who I'm not a huge fan of, as you know, being on the show. I just don't think he's that good. No, it's not Aaron Hicks. He went to Baltimore. Who's taking Judge's spot?
I don't know. I'd have to look.
I don't even know who's taking his spot because they have a lot of injured outfielders actually in New York right now.
Well, isn't Stanton back? So
Stanton's back. It's a good thing. He's back. I think he had a home run over the weekend. Also,
he's not on the DL yet, but he's not in the lineup tonight, so it'll be the 4th straight game.
Right. I heard I don't know. Well, basically, don't start Judge until you hear from me. Until I tell you to. Take him off your starting list.
There you go.
Pittsburgh Pirates back in first place. Won 6 in a row. I mean, they're playing really good ball, and they're playing the mighty Athletics right now. It's gonna be tough. Tough with the Athletics. Worst record ever in baseball history. The Athletics going through 60 games. I mean, it's just really sad what's going on in Oakland. And I mean, I don't know anybody that has one Oakland pitcher on their roster. Do you know anybody that has an Oakland pitcher on their roster in fantasy baseball?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm trying to think who's their closer. Even I can't even think of the name of a closer for them.
If you can't name the closer for the A's, then you should not be. You should not be thinking of drafting him in any leagues. I mean, I don't even know who they're close. If you think about it, they've won 12 games. Out of the 12 games, how many of them have been save opportunities? Maybe 2 or 3.
I have no idea. I am so out of tune with what the Oakland Athletics present because they have no fantasy relevancy that might make me a bad baseball fan,
and they don't at all. I mean, Rookers came back down to earth. He's hitting in the 260s again.
And you knew he would.
Yeah, he's been with a few teams, but the great thing about Oakland is this, and I actually discussed it with Sean Casey yesterday. We interviewed him, me and Tony Todd and I interviewed him we talked about the Oakland A's. And a lot of guys that would never have the opportunity to play Major League Baseball is getting it in Oakland.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah.
That's the cool thing. I mean, a lot of these guys, except Ruiz, I think Ruiz would make.
Yeah, Esteury Ruiz is the only one who's going to stay on rosters for the year.
I mean, I don't think Seth Brown would be on anybody's roster. No offense. I mean, I think he's an okay player, but as don't people would think waste a roster spot on him. But again, that's the way I have it. So on my downtime, I put together a list of my 5 leaders in the Cy Young in the American League and National League.
Okay.
I just want to run it by you and get your thoughts. I'll start with number 5.
Are you going American League or National League?
I'll do American League first.
Okay.
Flavber Valdez is number 5. It's 2.16 ERA and his WHIP is 1.03. I mean, it's just you got to take a Houston Astro, I think, and he's basically he's their ace. For somebody that I never would think I would say his name as a contender, but he is a contender. He's unhittable. Is Nathan Eovaldi?
He's the number 1 pitcher in fantasy baseball right now.
There you go. So Nathan Eovaldi, his WHIP is under 1. It's like 9.93, and his ERA is like 2.24. I mean, he's unhittable. And again, beginning of the season, I don't think I had him in my top 30 as starting pitchers. I don't think I did. The other one is number 3 is Kevin Gausman. Toronto.
I'm a fan. Yeah, I picked him to win it this year, but
I know you did. That's why I put him on there. Number 2, it's an ex-Cincinnati Reds, plays for the Twins, Sonny Gray, 2.15 ERA, 1.20 WHIP. Just the Twins are playing good ball, and I thought Sonny Gray deserves it just because he's never really had a bad outing yet this year, and he's pitching well. And number 1, guess who it is, Casey? Plays for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Shane McClanahan. It's got to be.
Shane McClanahan, the same name as Clint Eastwood in those Dirty Harry movies. He's just I think he got his 10th win yesterday, and he's pitching great. I mean, he's so I can't. So that's my American League. I don't know if you approve or disapprove.
The only one who I think I picked Kevin Gausman, but he wouldn't have been in my top 5. I would have put Joe Ryan there for Minnesota. Like the guy's been dynamite this year, a .95 whip, 2.76 ERA, more than a strikeout per inning. So he's bringing it too. But otherwise, I agree entirely.
So let's do National League. I took 2 Braves actually.
Well, I'm sure your number 1 is a Brave.
No, he's not. He's actually number 2. But my number 5 is Bryce Elder. I just think
interesting.
If you look at his stats are very good, and I just thought he deserved it just because how he's been pitching this year. Number 4 is a Pittsburgh Pirate. I never thought in my life I would
know. I like this guy.
But Mitch Keller, he's 93 Ks this year. I mean, this guy's a strikeout machine. Always has 8 or 9 strikeouts every start. I mean, he just, complete games. He does everything. Number 3, he's actually on my fantasy team. Logan Webb, 2.85 ERA. He has 82 Ks. And
he's striking people out.
And his whip's like near 1. So Logan Webb, I know you had your question marks beginning of the season, but I think he proved to you that he's actually deserves to be at least an all-star this year. Number 2, Spencer Strider, 113 Ks, Casey Scheinfeld, ERA under 3.
I know, 69 innings,
that's unhittable.
13 Ks. That's crazy.
And then number 1, they're in first place with the Dodgers, Arizona Diamondbacks, Zach Gallen.
Yeah.
I put him 1 just because the Diamondbacks, I think they're the biggest surprise. If I had to pick one surprise team, what do you think so far in June?
Well, I think it's either the Diamondbacks or the Pirates. I mean, let's be honest. Everybody picked the Pirates to be even below the Reds, I think, this year. So,
yeah, I agree. And especially with O'Neal Cruz going down. Remember when he went down, you and I looked at each other and said, there's no way the Pirates can keep it up, because they were playing well when O'Neal Cruz was playing. And all of a sudden they keep on winning. I mean, it's 6 in a row. All they do is win in Pittsburgh.
No matter what.
Yep, there you go. So those are my side. I like to do this once in a while. We'll maybe next week I'll have you do rookie of the year for top 5 in both leagues, and I'll try to disagree, but I probably won't. So let's talk fantasy. Let's talk waiver wire. Let's talk who we should pick up. I know you always have those great little gems that I never find that are just about to be brought up. Example today with De La Cruz, but you always have those great gems. So let's talk catcher under 60% Yahoo. You go first.
Well, I think in the last, again, I don't think there's anybody in the catchers free agents who you're going to pick up and say, this can be my starter for the rest of the year. Yeah. But I'll name 2. Gary Sanchez, as much as,
oh, wow,
I'm not a Gary Sanchez fan, having seen him in the Yankees, but that's more for his defense than anything. I mean, the last week, batting 286 with 3 home runs.
3 home runs and 21 at bats, Casey Scheinfeld.
And then
that's unbelievable.
And then the kind of one, along with Josiah Gray, this guy was the big piece that the Nationals got back, and CJ Abrams, the Nationals got back in the Max Scherzer, Trey Turner trade. And that's Keibert Ruiz. This kid has been crushing the ball too. And 15 at bats. He has 3 home runs in the last week. So those would be the 2 guys I would pick up and look, because let's be honest, Gary Sanchez a few years ago was considered maybe a top 3 fantasy catcher. If he can find it again, there's 35 home runs in his bat, and Keibert Ruiz is a big prospect. So
Casey, I like both of those. I love how you pick Gary Sanchez. I know you're a Yankee fan. I know it's hard for you to say that because, it's somebody that you loved cheering on when he wore the pinstripes, but now he's in San Diego.
He was a cause of more heartburn, I think, than cheer.
I agree with you. I agree. And I so it's hard for you for those words to come out of your mouth. Also Nick Fortes of the Marlins, 367 home run, 1 stolen base, which is huge for catchers the past 2 weeks. He's a streaker. If you need a catcher that's going to hit for some average and maybe steal a base here or 2, it's not a bad pickup. And also the guy we've been saying for the past 3 weeks, and he's close to 60. He's not quite there, Casey. Francisco Alvarez. He's still,
I don't understand that.
His power, he hits RBIs, his average has been down a little bit the past couple of weeks. Doesn't matter. He's definitely going to be a star in this league, and I just don't know why he's still 55%. I don't get it. I just don't understand. But it's good for everybody else. Pick him up. Let's talk first base. I'll go first. It's still Josh Naylor, 378 the past 2 weeks. I mean, he's not stopping. I mean, he's just crushing the ball.
500 in the last week. So,
I mean, just crushing 11 RBIs. I mean, he's just killing everything. Who else do you have at first base, Casey?
Well, I mean, let's look at Pittsburgh. Connor Joe has been hitting the ball really well. First base and outfielder, 375, has a home run, has a stolen base. First base is pretty well owned from what I could tell. A lot of the first basemen. I mean, if you're desperate, you could look at Brandon Belt. This is a left-handed bat, which they need in Toronto. So as long as he's healthy, he's going to play. It's a great hitting ballpark. But
did you see him hit the home run to beat the Mets? They swept the Mets over the weekend. And
no, I didn't see it.
Belt hit the home run in the 7th inning to win the game for Toronto.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, but Belt's a good pickup. Also, Owen Miller, who plays like 3-4 different positions for Milwaukee, 4 stolen bases, hitting 292 and 2 home runs the past 2 weeks, Casey. I mean, he plays first also. I just throw him out there. And you can say him for shortstop. I mean, he plays everywhere.
Yeah.
And he's not stopping. I mean, he's a guy. I thought he was a streaker, but now he's like, well, maybe I should pick this guy up.
Trust him a little bit, right?
Maybe, Case. But 4 stolen bases, my eyes popped out. So that's good. But I agree with you at first base. There's really nobody that's like coming at me at under 60% that I'm like saying, oh, you got to pick this guy up. You know, sometimes we say this is a must. There's really nobody. But if you need to patch that hole up, Josh Naylor, maybe that's who I'm thinking is the number 1 first baseman pickup. But yeah. I don't trust any Guardians. I just think I really have no faith in that team. Shane Bieber goes today. He's been getting really lucky.
Average. Yeah.
I mean, his strikeouts are way down. I mean, if you have Bieber on your team, trade him. I mean, all his stats are down the past couple of years. I mean, just get rid of him. Trust me. He's been very lucky the past couple of starts. He's going to get destroyed when he starts. Let's talk second base. Who do you got?
Second base, I think you actually own him in our league, and that's Ha-Seong Kim.
Ha-Seong Kim, Korean. Yes.
He's running. I mean, he's not going to be a power guy, but if he gets on base, they're going to play him, and he's been stealing bases, which can only help. So I would certainly put him as my top second baseman to add.
Well, he's hitting like 323 the past 2 weeks, and you said like 3 stolen bases.
And Willie Castro in Minnesota is.
Tell me about Willie. He plays a couple of positions, right?
He plays 4: second, short, third, and outfield. He's not somebody who's going to win your league, but he's a solid guy if somebody's going on the DL or somebody's in a slump. He's not going to 250, 275 hitter, but he's got a little bit of power. He's got some speed. So he's somebody I would keep an eye on.
And also, I think somebody mentioned Luis Garcia of the Nationals, hitting 302 the past 2 weeks, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. Not too shabby for a streaker. If you need some help at second base, I don't think it's a bad pickup. He's not going to hurt your team. I think the Nationals are getting better every month. I just feel their pitching staff's not as bad as what he thinks. And I just feel they're a team that has some young talent. So it's like Arizona. Let's talk shortstop. And all I'm going to say to you is Cincinnati Reds, but tell me else you like.
I am going to probably regret saying this, but I'm going to recommend picking up Oswald Peraza of the Yankees in the minors, because Anthony Volpe is great. He's going to be a stud, but he's batting 193 on the season. The Yankees are trying to catch the Devil Rays. Or the Rays, excuse me. I'm not sure if they're going to do it. Meanwhile, all that Peraza's done in the minors this year is over a 1,000 OPS, 9 home runs, 6 stolen bases, and a 347 batting average. I think it might be time to give maybe Volpe a little bit of a break, and Peraza can spell him for a bit, because I just think Peraza played pretty well when he came up last year. So I'm going to say Oswald Peraza.
I think they should give him a break. I don't know if that would break his confidence or help him or hurt him. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know, but I do like Anthony. I do like Anthony a lot. I do think he's the future shortstop for the Yankees, but he is hitting 190. And of course, I mentioned the Cincinnati Reds. The reason I said that is Matt McLain is still under 60%, and Ellie De La Cruz is under 60%, maybe for 2 more days. How many more days do you think he'll be under 60%, Casey?
Ellie De La Cruz? Not after tonight.
Wow. You heard the first. Casey Scheinfeld not after tonight, over 60. So if he's available in your league, pick him up immediately. This guy is the future star of the Cincinnati Reds. Let's talk third base. I had a little problems with third. I'll just tell you who I got. Keep Brian Hayes, I said this week. Just because Pittsburgh's playing so well the past 2 weeks, 3 home runs. He's hitting 267.
Yeah.
I know he's like not. I know his batting average isn't that great, but I just think Pittsburgh. They're playing Oakland right now, and then I forgot who they play on the weekend. But the schedule's pretty easy, so I think it's a good time to pick him up if you need a third baseman, and he'll steal some bases too. They give him the green light sometimes to run. So Hayes to me is not a bad pickup at third base, but maybe you have somebody better.
Well, I'm actually going to name somebody who's not playing well and hasn't for a few years now, but I think.
Let me guess.
Go ahead.
Josh Donaldson.
Yes.
Did I?
Yeah, absolutely. That's who I.
Oh my! That's unbelievable. I'm like a mind reader. Seriously, we had no idea. But that's
we didn't talk about this. That was just beautifully done. He's just off the IL a few days ago. I think he came off the first game against the Dodgers and poked 2 home runs out. He's batting cleanup for the Yankees tonight. I mean, heart of the order of a team like the Yankees is worth the risk, I think. Like I have Alec Boehm, who's on the IL. I have Nick Senzel, who they just put on the IL today. So third base is weak already. And if you're thin at that position, somebody like Josh Donaldson, well, he's not going to be the MVP candidate he was in 17 and 18 back in those Oakland and Toronto years. But the kid the guy can still hit. And if he gets hot, he barrels the ball as well as anybody, and batting in the middle of that lineup, he could actually give you a stretch of really good baseball.
No, he definitely has the pedigree, and you're 100% right. I mean, he won the MVP with the A's like 6 years ago, and then he got that huge contract with Toronto, and he never really did that great in Toronto. And now, now he's a Yankee. But he definitely, if he's healthy, he can hit. I mean, just hasn't been healthy the past few years, but I like that pickup. I like the Josh Donaldson pickup. And also let's move to outfield now. Somebody who just got off the DL also, who I kind of like, I just think he'll get hot, is Jock Peterson of the San Francisco Giants. I just feel Jock just got off the DL. And you know how he gets hot for like 2-3 weeks?
Yeah.
I just feel that come. I don't know why. I just feel it.
He crushes righties. That helps too.
Crushes them. And he's fresh off the DL, and I think right now is a good time to pick him up if you need help in the outfield. Who else do you like, Casey, in the outfield?
Atlanta Braves, Eddie Rosario is doing really well right now. He's not an everyday player, so he's one you keep on your bench, but when he's in the lineup, he typically hits well. So I would consider him as a pickup. And the other guy I was looking at, let me find his name down here. I have it written somewhere. Another Cincinnati, Jake Fraley just keeps going. I mean, he's not a big prospect, but he's batting leadoff for Cincinnati, 4 stolen bases in the last week, 2 home runs too. I mean, he's a 5 category contributor right now. And that's hard to find on the waiver wire.
It is. I mean, this guy's a journeyman. He played on a few teams and he's found a home in Cincinnati, and he's doing a great job. Cincinnati right now, they have a lot of young prospects, but they also have some older veterans like Fraley and Stevenson and people like that. I mean, they're a team. They're only 3 or 4 games. No, I think they're like 6 games now because they got swept on Milwaukee.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, it's
Didn't
a long
they beat
season.
Milwaukee last night, or did they blow it?
We did beat Milwaukee 2-0 by your guy. Your guy Abbott pitched an unbelievable game. But again, that division is the weakest in baseball. Well, but the other outfielder I like, he looks like a homeless guy, but the Phillies, I think, are about to go on one of these big runs. I really feel it. I just feel they've been playing so poorly. I think they're due. Is Brandon Marsh. He started out hot, then he got cold. The past 2 weeks, he's hitting 308, 9 RBIs. He looks like a homeless guy, but doesn't matter. I think Marsh is somebody that's going to get hot, and it could be a good person to have in your lineup. And also like your pickup of Connor Joe, who I think qualifies at outfield also.
Yeah, he does.
And again, they have a pretty easy schedule coming up. So Connor Joe is a good pickup also, who was a Dodger farmhand, then Colorado. Now he's in Pittsburgh. I mean, he's been traveling all over. But that's really all I have in outfield. Am I missing anybody that you?
No, there's not a lot. I mean, you can talk about. I bring him up every week as a minors guy, and that's Colton Cowser in the Orioles. He's coming off the IL now, or he just got off the IL, I believe. He should be called up soon. The guy's just unbelievable. But and I don't know, what's Jordan Walker's ownership? Is it over 60?
That's a great question. I believe it's over 60. I want to say it's over 60. Hey, Anthony. Ellie. Yeah, Ellie's here. We talked about him.
We did talk about Ellie.
We talked about Ellie. And the thing about Ellie is he's not over 60% in Yahoo. So, Anthony, check your league to make sure maybe he's not picked up, But we're excited about Ellie.
I don't know who owns him in our league, but I'm going to try to trade for him.
I'm going to try to trade for him. If you're going to try to trade, I will try to trade too. Let's talk starting pitching, Casey. I still like Logan Allen. I don't know why he's not over 60%. He's been pitching well the past 2 weeks. He's 2-0, ERA under 3. I just don't understand why he's not over 60. Somebody else I don't understand why he's under 60 is Ben Lively of the Reds. He's been starting going 5 or 6 innings every start, and he's 2-0. I mean, he's not giving up. He had one bad game and that's it. But Ben Lively, to me, I think is a good pickup right now. He's under 60%. And, it's just with these starting pitchers. I have a question for you in starting pitching. I want your opinion. He's another Guardian farmhand, Gavin Williams.
Love that guy. He was my.
What have you heard? What have you heard about him? Is he going to come up this year? What have you heard?
He's not on the 40-man roster. That's what it boils down to. I don't know what the Indians are planning on doing. They tend to be a lot more conservative.
You said Indians, but keep going.
I mean, Guardians. They tend to be a lot more conservative with their prospects than other franchises. He should be up. He's pitching better than 3/4 of their rotation right now. But they brought up Bybee. They still have Bieber. I don't know if they're going to bring him up or not, but I would love to see it.
I would too. I mean, I've read about him. I've never seen him pitch yet, but I want to see him pitch. I heard he does nasty stuff. I'm going to try to pick him up in some leagues just to have him on my bench.
Anthony Rodriguez wanted to point out that Walker is 65% ownership. Yeah, Thank you.
I figured he would be. I mean, in our league, there's no NA spot, which means I had to keep him in a regular roster spot, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, annoying.
But his future is so bright. Casey, he has to wear shades. That's how bright it is.
Oh man,
I should be a poet. Actually,
I'm old enough to remember that song.
Yeah, one of my favorites. But again, there's a lot this year alone. There's so much young talent coming up. I mean, don't you think there's it's different from the other years where it's like. I just feel that they're bringing these guys up younger and they're taking chances on some of the young talent, which is great. I love it. But usually you have to wait 2 or 3 years to see Jordan or see Eli De Cruz. I see any of these people.
I know.
It's just I love this. I love the youth that's going out there. I think it's great. And it's great for the game. It's great for fantasy sports because it makes us really dig deep and find these guys. I think it's a great thing. Any other starting pitchers that you want me to pick up?
I'll name 2. I mean, yesterday I released a short for Edward Cabrera. The guy was one of my favorite sleepers coming into the draft. Disappointed the first month and a half of the season. He's turned it around. He's found his control again. Last start was 6 shutout innings with 10 strikeouts. So the guy is starting to deliver. He's one. And somebody I've mentioned a few times before in Minnesota, he's not one of the biggest names, but he just keeps doing it. And that's Louis Varland. It's going to be a tough one for him tonight. He's going at Tampa Bay. So if you pick him up, you're not going to get him to start tonight anyway. So don't worry about this start. He's a good pitcher. He's pitching really well. He keeps the ball in the ballpark. He pitches. He's not going to be a huge strikeout guy, but he's a soft contact guy. So, I think he's a must add too.
I like those. And, again, with starting pitchers, you got to watch out for their opponent. Don't you think that's a big thing? It's like if they're pitching Colorado, I usually don't like to start pitchers that are pitching Colorado, unless it's like one of these Cy Young candidate guys. But I think Webb's pitching Colorado this week. I have to start him. I have no choice. But I mean, it's like again, you got to make sure you got to see who they're playing. I think that's very important. And you got to see their opponent, see what their opponent's doing, see how many left or right-handed hitters they have on their team. It depends if your guys are lefty or righty. But there's a lot of variants that I kind of look at during the season. I hope everybody else does too. And if you have questions about that, you can type in some questions right now. We'll be happy to answer them. And our next subject right now is the relief pitchers, Casey.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a one that I had, Kendall Graveman of the White Sox.
Yeah, but how many? I saw him too. My question is now that
Liam Hendriks.
Liam Hendriks is back. Thank you for. How many opportunities is Graveman going to get? There's not a lot of relievers on the wire for saves. If you're looking for peripherals, you got James Karinchak in Cleveland, always gives you good numbers. You've got. I'm intrigued by Nate Pearson in Toronto, not because he's pitching excellent right now, but if you remember a few years ago, he was like their top prospect, coming up, throwing 102 miles an hour as a starter. He might be one. If I had space on my bench, I would draft it and just see what happens. I would pick up and see what happens now that Manoah is gone. Are they going to see if they can move him back into the rotation?
Yeah, I was watching the college playoffs, baseball playoffs yesterday, and one of these teams, Oklahoma or somebody, had a pitcher pitching 102. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's throwing the heat, but he couldn't find the plate, but oh well. So yeah, with relief pitchers, I agree with you. There's not many out there that are worth picking up. I just said Graveman just because 2 saves, 0.0 ERA the past 2 weeks. I wish, but Liam Hendriks, he got the win yesterday, and it was National Cancer Survivor Day. So this guy who had cancer survived. Obviously, he pitched, and he got the win on that day, which I think is a huge accomplishment in Major League Baseball. I always like those feel good stories, as you know. I like a story that ends well, and that's a story that ended really well. Do you think Liam's going to be the closer in Chicago by July, let's say?
I think he'll be the closer in Chicago by the middle of this month. I give it within 2 weeks.
Do you think if Chicago doesn't get their act together, do you think he could be traded to a contender?
Man, I mean, it would be smart. It would be smart management if they could get a good prospect or package for him from a contender. But that would be like the Orioles 2 years ago. I know they did last year, but 2 years ago, trading Mancini when he first gets back from colon cancer. I just think from a public relations standpoint, like he's now like the most beloved Chicago White Sox because of what he's proven and what he's done.
I don't know. I think, again, we'll talk about it when we get a little closer to All-Star break, but I think we'll see a lot of players being traded, a lot of players being swapped out because their contracts are over in October. And we'll see a lot of deals done with contenders and teams that are not contending in July. It's going to be a whole shuffle of musical chairs going on in the Major League Baseball. Well, you know what, Casey, it's good to catch up. We got a lot of good stuff going on in baseball this week and a lot of good games. The Reds are playing the Dodgers tonight, which is always a huge rivalry. It should be a good 3-game series. I'm excited for it. And there's a lot of other good stuff. There's a lot of other good games going on too. So Angels are playing at home against the Cubs. That should be fun. So I don't know who the Yankees are playing, but who are the Yankees playing this week?
The Yankees are playing. Give me a second. The Yankees are playing the Chicago White Sox at home tonight.
Oh, Lucas Giolito is going against you guys with your guy Schmidt's pitching for the Yankees, who's been pitching well, Casey.
Yeah,
guy Schmidt
Clark Schmidt is pitching well.
He's been pitching really well the past few starts, and I wanted to bring his name up to you real quick, but it doesn't matter. But I like Schmidt in that game just because it's in Yankee Stadium, and I think Schmidt's been really pitching terrific. He's been going over 6-7 innings.
Yeah, his cutter seems to neutralize left-handed bats pretty well.
I like it. So it should be a fun week. I'm Ross the Boss. That's Vlad to the Bone, Casey Scheinfeld. We'll see you guys on Thursday at 4:30 Eastern, and we're out of here.
Have a good night, everybody.